Yo, the reason why I think this topic is important is because this kind of investment often goes neglected. It's easy to shell out a few $100 on clothing to get a dopamine hit without batting an eye, but when it comes to this kind of investment, we'll think twice before making the decision. It's just odd to me that a shopping haul seems to be seen more favorably or encouraged. Treat yourself, says those multi-million-dollar corporation that push you to consume more about associating social status with luxuries. Here's the thing, I didn't spend $2,500 in one sitting. It was done over the course of a year, and I second guessed myself, wondering if there will be any returns on my investment. It's also peculiar that I use the term returns on investment as if I unconsciously needed to have some financial gain. Maybe I have an obsession with quantifying the unquantifiable. So enough with the teasing. Here's what I spent this $2,500 on within the last year. Psychotherapy. There are multiple types of therapy, but to make it sharp, in general, the aim of therapy is to help someone with their mental health problem by a mental health professional, for example, a psychotherapist or a psychologist. It is not a one-size-fits-all solution, but it goes a long way if you want to be helped. The importance of mental health has gained traction over the last couple of years, but I still feel like we have a long way to go before the stigma goes away, and this is why I wanted to discuss this topic. I'll be mostly talking from my personal experience, which is coming from a weird society perspective, which is Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. So it is not representative of the human as a species. Everyone's experiences are also different, but if I'm ever spreading misinformation, please let me know so I can take the appropriate measures. I don't think my story is particularly interesting, so I don't want to romanticize anything about it. But over the last couple of years, the mid-20s moderately hit me hard. I felt lost, anxious, and I didn't know what to do with my life. The thoughts of taking a big turn in my life, at least big to me, was paralyzing. Since these feelings came and went away, I thought to myself every time that it's just a phase I'm going through and that it'll pass. I just needed to power through these emotions, and so I resisted these feelings. And then I got reminded of a quote that I heard somewhere, so I decided to plug it here to sound poetic. Like a magnetized needle floating on a surface oil, resistance will unfailingly point to true north, meaning that calling or action it most wants to stop us from doing. There was this inner voice that kept on telling me that I had to do something about it, but I resisted it. It is often hard to tell if this voice is actually coming from you or from the conditioning of your environment that shapes your thoughts. Also, it never occurred to me that I should go see a therapist because I thought I could find all my answers on the internet until I spoke about it to a friend and he suggested me to go see one as he's had a good experience with it. That was the little nudge that made me seriously consider the option. Nonetheless, there were a few barriers that I had to overcome. At first, I was taken aback by the price, but I thought about my spending on clothing and I don't even look that presentable. So why am I being cheap when it comes to my well-being? I consider myself very fortunate because I am able to spend money on therapy and there are people who need it and they cannot afford it. Then for the second barrier, it was about the time investment. And then I thought about the time I spent scrolling mindlessly on social media. So why am I being worried about spending 1 hour a week or on a bi-weekly basis trying to help myself? And finally, the most difficult mental block I had was about the stigma surrounding therapy. Does that make me weak? Why am I unable to fix things by myself? Are my friends that incompetent? The answers to these questions is obviously no, but I should consider getting new friends. If you're my friend and watching this, I'm just kidding. Don't unfriend me on Facebook. I still need people to like my posts to feed my ego. Another barrier that we can have that I didn't personally experience is that finding a therapist is hard, but finding the one that fits you can be even harder. This may be also another reason why therapy can be negatively perceived, but in my case, I was pretty lucky since I found one quickly and it suited my needs. What I enjoyed about my experience in therapy is that you really have an outside perspective. Compared to my friends, the inputs from my therapist is probably more objective, and they also have been trained to be able to ask the right questions and to interpret your answers properly. The mainstream ideas or tips that we can see on inspirational quotes can sometimes be harmful as well. In my case, I wanted to understand myself better, and that's what we focused on during therapy. There are approaches that are more action-based, but for me, I needed to dissect the voice inside my head, so that's why I went for a more talk-based approach. So after all that, did I become happier? Nope, I did not. I'm still pretty flawed, but that means that there are more challenges ahead of me that I can work on. I still have problems, but I am more aware of my emotions and as to why I do certain things. That ultimately has the effect of aligning a little bit better my decisions to my needs. It is hard to assess the benefits of therapy since they're not really tangible, and it may be well due to the new habits you've picked up in the meantime, but at this point, it doesn't really matter that much. Mental health is a complex topic, and the brain is the most complex object known in the universe after all, but it is not a reason to not try to understand our own mind. At school, we learn how to read and how to write, but we never really learn how to understand ourselves well enough to be able to translate our thoughts into the right words or actions. Words can have positive effects, but it can be also destructive as well, even if we don't intend to hurt. I think most of us mean well, but we just don't like the idea that we could have hurt someone. Maybe in an ideal world, therapy would not be needed much, as mental health would be everyone's job, and we would be more well equipped to address interpersonal issues. But for now, the best we can do is to learn as much as we can. I'll admit, it's not an easy task because we just don't know what we're not aware of. So here's some questions that can guide your research if you're interested in finding a therapist to help you through this process. When and under which conditions should you go see a therapist? What makes a good therapist? What should you expect from therapy, and what are the limitations of therapy? I'll provide some links of other resources that I've found helpful. And on that note, take care.